E360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. Live streaming now to millions of devices around the world on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook live streaming. Our shows are available video on demand on these channels. And we broadcast daily, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on these channels. On Mondays, Expanding Your Business. Tuesdays, Natural Health and Wellness. On Wednesdays, we cover mentoring our youth. And on Thursdays, our new show, Ideas Worth Knowing. And on Fridays, Women in Leadership. To be able to watch our television show on your favorite device, please go to e360tv.com and download the app for your favorite device. Brought to you by our producers and hosts, Jim Grant and Donna Guinois. Along with our host, Beata Severin Reed and Emerson Brantley. Supported by our admin team of Michaela Vidal and Gaia Guinois Balconi Weda. Oh, and welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com. We're also brought to you by our Thursday program, Ideas Worth Knowing, and let me share something with you very quickly. When it comes to being able to communicate with your ideal client, they want to know one thing and one thing only. And that one thing is this: can you help me? And the 6-minute webinar, it prepares you for a presentation using the power of ScriptPile. Now, don't Google it because you're not going to find it. Don McGrath created ScriptPile, and it asks you questions, and it puts it all together, and it makes AI look like, it's looks like a kite trying to fly like an airplane. It really does. And just go to 6minutewebinar.com. Let me get busy over here and start putting up some web addresses here and everything on the ticker tape there, the 6minutewebinar.com. And also, our show, Ideas Worth Knowing, that's hosted by Emerson Brantley and Mr. Mike Lewis on Thursdays. And they're such fine people, they give me the day off. Let me tell you a little bit about Emerson. Emerson's not only a fantastic marketer, he has a lot of affiliations. He is also he's on the board of directors of the U.S. Green Chamber of Commerce. And Emerson and Mike approached me about doing a show about ideas worth knowing because Mike has interviewed and has over 1,000 best-selling authors. And he's approached these authors about bringing some books together. And the idea behind these books is being able to help anybody from all walks of life be able to pick and choose whatever topics they're interested in. And as soon as here we go. They are updating and working on the website, but you can go to ideasworthknowing.com. You can get a complimentary library card that's good for 10 of those books. And you can get all 10 at one time, one here, two there, whatever you might want to do. But the idea behind Ideas Worth Knowing is to share wisdom and knowledge for folks out there. And it's complimentary. My book is going to be there. A lot of other people's books are going to be there. And they're adding to the inventory. And they're, like I say, they're getting the glitches ironed out of it. So if you go there and you're saying, hey, I want to get these books or whatever, and you're unable to, just get in touch with Mike Lewis at Mike. You'll see it there on the marquee, Mike at ideasworthknowing.com, because these are something that's very, very valuable to you. Our show is built on value and what we bring to the public. And we just want to give a shout out to all the folks around the world, especially you folks in India, in Pakistan, and I had the honor and privilege of being requested to record a short video for some young people. I'm trying to remember the name of the group. They got over 100,000 members. And these are kids, young people. I call them kids. I can call anybody a kid. I'm 75. Well, most people I can anyway. But these young people, they're starting out in life. And I remember back when I was in my 20s, and we all can remember back when we were young. We had dreams, we had aspirations, but we look back and we understand the same hurdles that they're going through that we went through. And my big topic was about the Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. I gave him that link there, and let me put that YouTube link up here if I can find it. Right there it is. Boy, I'm getting good now. And this is a Tuesday. Don't tell anybody this early in the week. Usually I don't get this good to about Friday afternoon around 4:30, 5 o'clock. But The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And with that, I backed up the story of S.B. Fuller destroying the myth that the reason why I can't do something is because I don't have any money. Now I want you to think about that for a moment. If that is true, and a lot of people believe that to be true in their lives, but if that's true, how do you explain all of the rags to riches formula that you see out there? People that says, this is my life. I grew up poor, or I grew up in a foster home, or whatever. And they came from nothing. S.B. Fuller was one of those kind of kids, and I'm going to bring my co-host on today, Mr. Jeremy Stone, because I know Jeremy will have some good input on this. Jeremy, I don't know if you've ever heard the story of S.B. Fuller or not.
I haven't, but I'm looking forward to hearing you tell it.
Okay, well, hopefully I'll do a good job of it. S.B. Fuller, it's in the book Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by W. Clement Stone and Napoleon Hill. And I know it's in other books, but that one there I know it's in because that was the very first Positive Mental Attitude book that I read. He grew up a poor boy. When I say poor, I mean poor. He was a black kid in a black family. They grew up in it's either Louisiana or Alabama, somewhere in the South. And his father was a sharecropper or tenant farmer. Now, this is where the landowner owns the land. They buy the seed. They got the mules and whatever. And the tenant farmers or the sharecroppers, they provide all of the labor. And it's a very poor, meager existence for the sharecropper. You're not going to see any of them getting rich, okay? It just didn't happen that way. And by the time he was 9 years of age, it was very common for kids like SB, brought up in that environment, to be plowing. And he plowed, with a mule at 9 years of age. Oh. But SB had a remarkable mother. She read the Bible, she loved the Lord, and she used to tell him, even though the only thing she'd ever seen in her life, from her existence to her marriage, was poverty, a hand-to-mouth existence. And that being said, she told SB, she says, don't you ever let me hear you say we are poor because of God. Mm. We are poor because your father has never desired to be anything else. Yeah. And that made an impression on young S.B. Fuller. And you know what he did? After he left the farm and he went up north, he decided he was going to become a salesman. He sold for this company. And he worked and saved his money. He had saved about $25,000. He learned that the company that he worked for was going to be sold at auction for $150,000, and he wanted to buy it. So he made a deal. He put down the $25,000. He had to come up with the other $125,000 in 10 days.
Oh, wow.
So he immediately went out and beat the bushes. He called on people because he had built a great reputation as being an honest, hard-working man. Mm-hmm. His word was his honor. That's important in business.
Yeah.
That's important in life, isn't it, Jeremy? And I'm going to give you a chance to talk about this once I finish the story. It was on the ninth day. He had drained every financial resource he had. He had milked the cow dry. He had $115,000. He was $10,000 short. If he didn't come up with it by the next day, he would lose his $25,000. He was desperate. In his room there, he got down on his knees and he prayed for divine guidance. And he said, this was on a Friday night now, because the deal was due the next day on a Saturday. And he got down on his knees. He prayed for divine guidance. And he says, I'm going to drive up 61st Street in Chicago and just let the first business I see that has a light on, let that be my sign where I can get the other $10,000. So he starts out Friday night, 11 p.m. This is 1 hour before midnight. Now, what do you think his chances are? Minus zero, right? He drove block after block after block after block. And then finally he saw a light on this business. It was a contractor's office. He knew the contractor a little bit, and he knew he had to be bold when he walked in. He walked in, the contractor was sitting behind his desk. He was tired from a long day of work. And he says, would you like to make $1,000? And the contractor says, yeah. He says, well, what I need a check from you tonight for $10,000. And when I bring it back, I will pay you the $1,000 extra. And he sat down and told the contractor what his deal was. The contractor knew he was a hard-working, honest man. And he revealed, this is what I'm doing. This is the people that's invested with me. I'm $10,000 short. Before he left there that night, he had the $10,000. Not only did he buy that business, he bought many other businesses. And Jeremy, you are an expert in getting into business and keeping a positive attitude. What impresses you about that story? And I just hit the main caps of it.
Well, I think the first thing in that, Jim, is that he had somebody who held him accountable for his thoughts, right? Mm-hmm. And that was his mom. And,
yeah.
and his mom told him, encouraged him not to think in a negative way, but to think that everything was possible, right? To understand that we can't blame others for our success or our failures. We're solely responsible for that. Mm-hmm. And then I think the second thing is something that I always like to tell people is that the only time that success comes before work is in the dictionary, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. In the rest of life, the success comes after the hard work, and he put in that hard work to be able to do what he did, and that is actually in the beginning what helped him to achieve the support and the investment of all those people, because they recognized his hard work, right?
Yeah, his work ethic
yeah, he hadn't been successful yet in business, but people were willing to invest in him because of his character, and they had recognized that he was one who put in the hard work. Too many people today want to have success and want people to invest in them, but they've never put in the work.
Yeah, they want to find it online easy.
Exactly. They want the success, but they don't want to do the work that it takes to achieve that success.
Yeah, right? It's kind of like how many success stores do you see online, and how many happiness stores do you see online? Let's go in there and get some success and happiness. Let's do a Google search and see what that comes up with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. When people begin to look at others that they consider successful, they always say, I want that. Yeah. But they don't want to do what that person had to do to get that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of leads us a little bit into our subject today, because we're going to be talking about how we can rid our lives of toxic cleaners and toxic chemicals, because what S.B. Fuller did when he walked away from the farm, what he took with him was a positive work ethic. What he left behind was all of the negative stuff. And really what he did not realize is these people observed, here's a black fella They know he's honest. He's worked hard, and that built credibility without him saying one word.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just wanted to share that with the folks, what I shared with the young people that had the honor of being able to share a short video clip with them. And so far it's got over 100 and something views, and so that's just a couple of days ago. So that I must have said something intelligent, either that or they said, look at this old guy, I'm surprised he's not down there shaking hands with the Undertaker. He's old, But one of the things in my life, and this is something we all need to take inventory of, and that is what's important to you. When I had my heart attack and had my surgery and 4 bypasses and all that, I found that I needed to get off the statins. And then I found out that, there was a great company that had a heart health pack, and let me see if I can get the box here. I believe you're familiar with this heart health peak performance. I think you take peak performance too, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I take the total health one.
Yeah, this one here is designed for mentally retarded folks like me.
Yeah.
People have heart. But what I really liked, it had the 4 studies there, the credibility.
Yes.
And see, that's where you want to be. You want to be with credible people. You want to be with credible studies and all that. And through the cardiologist, I found out the great benefits of dandelion tea. And then, because I have these cardiologists, I'm on their mailing list or whatever, and a couple of them started talking about toxins and how that can affect my heart and my health. And prior to that, I don't normally think about toxins when I need soap. I go get it, or my wife gets it, and I pull it out of the cupboard or wherever she's got it put. If I need the shampoo, it's in the cupboard there. And when she cleans the floor, I like the way it smells. I never thought duck soup about household cleaners. But, Jeremy, you and I, we studied up on those things. We started reading labels, and oh my goodness gracious, if you're concerned about your health, if you wonder why you have allergies or why allergies may be in your house, if you wonder why sometimes you just don't feel good, I'm not saying it's 100%, but I'll guarantee you one thing. The toxin from those cleaners, the fumes and everything like that, they're not doing you any favors, are they, Jeremy?
Absolutely not, Jim. I think it's kind of ironic or interesting how so many people in public, they talk about, the pollution in the air outside and we got to do something about it. But then they never talk about the pollution in our homes that we're creating, so they're worried about the toxins outside, but not worried about the toxins inside where they spend the majority of their time.
Yeah, and besides that, when they get ready with all their cleaning stuff, what do? They wash it down the drain. That goes right back into the into our ecosystem.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we actually poison ourselves twice, right?
Yeah.
It's a cycle.
We really do, and Jeremy, in doing our research and all, and being able to find a good company that's got a tremendous reputation and that has cleaners that will not harm you. We saw a little short video clip on the harmful effects of, that thing just blew my mind. How many cleaners that we can get in the United States today that you can't find in Europe, and why is that? Do you remember, Jeremy?
Well, you can't find them in Europe because they found them to be toxic to people. They're dangerous. But somehow in the U.S. we've decided that they are relatively safe enough. They don't say they're safe, but they say they're reasonably safe. And that's how they actually rank them. So it's just crazy, that we allow these things here, but in other countries they're not.
You're exactly right, because, if you've been like me, and Jeremy, I think we talked about this, I'm not sure, but you look on the back of these labels, you see a big long word, you can't pronounce it. And, you don't look it up because, you know, it'd take you quite a few minutes just to get all the letters in the right place.
Yep, yep.
But when you start looking at what others say about this, you know, scientists and knowledgeable people, people who have done studies on it, you go like, I don't want to put that stuff in my mouth via a toothpaste. I remember when I was in Vietnam in 1969 and 1970, I got sick from drinking the water. And it had nothing to do with, you know, bad water or anything like that. What I was sick of, they put so much chlorine in it. Can you imagine drinking water from the swimming pool? Because that's what they put in the swimming pools.
Yep.
That's what they put in our water over there. And that's why a lot of us, we got our water out of a can that had a little bit of relaxation to it, shall I say?
Yeah.
In Spanish they call it cerveza.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, when you get sick on water, and I mean, you know, stomach. I mean, just to irritate your stomach. I mean, your stomach just feels raw on the inside. We've all been there. We know what that feels like. And goodness gracious. That was chlorine, and that was their answer to purify our water.
Yep.
So it's like a trade-off. Okay, we're going to give you chlorine, which is not good for your body, but we're going to kill all this other bacteria that can't hurt you.
Well, and remember, we used to have the little tablets that we'd put in our canteens, right?
Yeah.
And not only would the big water reservoirs would they put large amounts of chlorine in those, but we used to have the tablets that we would put in our water canteens in order to purify the water. And you're right. It's they're introducing a toxin chemical to the water in order to alleviate you getting sick from bacteria or microorganisms, right? So, they're going, which one's worse? Well, you're going to get sick faster. You're going to get, diarrhea. You're going to get, vomiting and everything if you get a microorganism or bacteria. It's worth it to just get a steady long-term buildup of a toxin of chlorine in your body. To allow you to be functional in your job because you're not stuck in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. I got to tell you some funny story out at school about Vietnam there. I don't remember the ratio, but we had white pills and orange pills. Mm-hmm. Now, the military, the government, in its infinite wisdom, thought, well, we better not tell them the truth. We better tell them this here's for them from getting malaria from mosquito bite. They'll believe that. But really what those pills were designed to do were to help prevent us from catching leprosy. Because they figured if we knew about leprosy, we would be scared to death and wouldn't want to fight or go out in the boonies or do anything. All we want to do is go home.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, we used to make a joke about the lepers column, and I know it's a horrible thing, but we were young and dumb. But we used to joke about the lepers column a few miles down the road. And I remember one of the guys said, yeah, they had a hockey game, they had to stop it. Really? Yeah, they had a face-off in the corner. And we thought that was funny, but my point being, that was, looking back, I realized then, the government may not be truthful in sharing what is going on, and they want us to buy into things. That's why they say it's reasonably safe with some chemicals if you don't drink it. Yeah. That's reasonably safe. But these chemicals, my goodness gracious, and you take here's another thing I just thought of, a lot of the chemicals that we buy in our houses for cleaning, they don't come with child-proof caps on them or anything.
No.
And kids love to get into counters and get into stuff. And us boys, taking caps off and
Well, statistically, toddlers are the most at risk for poison from household cleaners.
Yes, they are.
The majority of poison control calls for poisonings in the home is for under 5 years old. 5 years old and under, specifically in the 2-year age. They just get into a lot more chemicals. And it's pretty serious.
It really truly is, because the really sad part about a kid is that a kid cannot tell you what's going on. They,
Yeah, absolutely.
they really can't. And my goodness gracious, it's just it's a sad thing, because, it's kind of like our pets. We hate to see our pets get sick or anything like that, because they can't tell us what's going on.
Right.
And when it comes to our kids, they certainly can't tell us many times what's going on. But the thing that I wanted to touch on too is that I did not realize that you'd say your dog or your cat walking across the floor, their pods can pick up chemical residue left behind and absorb it into their bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. But your kids can do the same thing, not just your
Yeah,
pets. I mean,
yeah.
if you think about it, we all talk about the fentanyl crisis in the United States, right? We know that fentanyl is killing more people today than whatnot. The majority of those deaths and poisonings are not actually from ingestion. It's actually just simply through the transference of fentanyl through your skin. It goes right through your skin into your bloodstream and will kill you that fast. So,
Oh,
we
yeah.
know that there's a lot of medications that are given transdermally, right? So all of these things, these lotions and cosmetics and cleaning chemicals that we just get on our hands and we don't think about it, we're absorbing those toxins into our blood system. And a lot of those toxins accumulate in your body
Oh,
and
yeah.
stay in there, and it builds up over time. And that's not even talking about all the health issues that they cause, long-term chronic health issues. And in fact, that's becoming in medical literature, it's becoming a lot more. People are beginning to realize that that's a cause of chronic illnesses,
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot more so than infectious diseases. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
becoming a new focus in the medical circles as well.
Yeah. Now, Jeremy, I think that's your email up there, is it not? Is that correct? Jeremy at yourbizprofitscoach.com?
Yes, that
Okay.
is.
All right. A reason we want to share that with everyone out there, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to get in touch with Jeremy about this particular issue, please reach out to him through his email. He will share information with you. He will share what he has found that will provide value in your life, not only to keep your health and your loved ones safer in your house. I call it safe because, hey, if I don't have any chemicals in my house, I'm safe. If I don't have any crooks in my house, I'm safe, because both of them are trying to harm my health. That's how serious I look at it. And also, if you'd like to get in touch with me, Jeremy and we work together. You can just get in touch with us right here at the TV station. Let's see, as soon as I find it here, I think that's it, ain't it? Oh, I subscribe to our YouTube channel. I don't have my correct glasses on, so I got to act my age here. I'm using the Braille system here, but it's inspiration at E360TV live.com. And I know I got it in here somewhere, but anyway, point being, please, please, please get in touch with us. You'll be glad you did, because that way you can make the right decision for you. You might choose to use natural cleaners that you find online, making it up yourself. That's fine too. Our mission today is to let you know, if you do not read the labels of what you're using in your house, forget how it smells. Forget how it smells. Some of the chemicals they use to make something smell like pine or like lemon, you wouldn't want to put that in your coffee unless you want to wake up dead tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
yeah, we're very serious about this because of the fact that we know that these chemicals are very, very harmful for us. And it just amazes me how ignorant I was for a long time. I did not know. If it smelled clean, it had to be clean, right? That's a big myth. And there was something else. I don't know why. It hadn't happened lately. I wonder why. Every evening in the evenings, early evening, 6 or so, I used to get on a sneezing fit. Achoo, achoo, achoo. And my family would laugh at me. But since I stopped using toxic cleaners, I got to do more research on that because, you don't think about things like that, but since we stopped using the toxic cleaners and we're going into, a different direction than before, because sneezing, that is your body trying to expel something that's an irritant, right?
Absolutely. That's what causes it.
Yeah. And it's just amazing. And Jeremy, in your studies, my goodness gracious, you've done a lot with the health and all that. And getting your home back in order as far as not having toxic chemicals and things like that, that is a great place to start. That's a foundation. But in your work, there's so much more to that, ain't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the big things, Jim, that first for people to understand is just to understand why. People don't understand why they should get rid of those toxic chemicals, right? You can buy them in the grocery store, so it should be okay. But all of the recent studies, are showing that these toxic chemicals that are found in cleaners are doing a lot of things. One, they are endocrine disruptors. What's that mean? That means that they throw your hormones out of balance. So many people are suffering from hormonal issues, and a lot of them can be attributed to being triggered by toxic chemicals in the house, right? They're finding that it contributes to ADD in children, these issues. They've identified over 297 chemicals in cord blood in babies, which means that those chemicals and toxins first had to accumulate in the mom, and then they're transferred. And so, we know that the fetuses in the womb are actually more susceptible because they're developing that toxic chemicals that they're exposed to in the womb.
Wow.
They hamper, brain development and organ development. And so the American Pediatrics Association is beginning to identify toxic chemical exposure from household cleaners as a potential or probable cause to a lot of childhood chronic illness conditions such as asthma, brain development, ADD, all of these issues. So, an interesting term that they've used is that these toxic chemicals are affecting you from womb to tomb, right?
Yeah.
And that's something. So it's not just us, but we're hurting like our children and our pets and everything like that, and it's causing all these long-term chronic issues.
Yeah. I remember my good friend, Bob Boileau. He's no longer with us. We lost Bob many years ago to cancer, but he was talking about, he lived in this one place, and he says he always had headaches. And he says, I never have headaches. And he was a military guy. He was in the Navy. He was an Navy pilot. And he said, I was staying at this place and always had headaches and this and that. And one of his buddies told him, says, hey, you probably got some, he didn't say toxins, he said the C word, CRA something, in your carpet, and it's probably affecting your health. And he says, I thought he was nuts. But he said, when I left that place, I left all those physical problems behind. And he says, his buddy told him, said, yeah, it's in the carpet. The carpet just keeps all these things. He said, well, I never do anything with the carpet. He said, vacuum it. He says, doesn't matter. The carpet is like a sponge. Anything in the house it can catch it holds on to. And he says, I really thought he was nuts. And then he said, when I moved out of that place, all of my health problems went away. And you think about people who may be suffering from headaches or dizziness or nervousness. They may not suspect that a contributing cause that may be bringing that on or at least adding to it would be the toxic chemicals in their house. They don't even think about that. What they think about is either going to the drugstore or going to see the doctor.
Yep.
Because the doctor doesn't know what's going on in your house. You come to the doctor, say, hey, I got a headache and all that. Well, he's going to prescribe something that he knows that will relieve you of a headache. But that's not the core problem.
No,
It
and
really
that's why.
isn't.
Yeah, and that's why in like holistic medicine and natural medicine, we actually look at that with people is like, what is the home environment, right? Well,
Yeah.
that's one of the first things you address is, okay, what kinds of toxins are we bringing into our environment, right? And because when we're living with those toxins, I mean, I wasn't always on natural cleaners or anything like that.
No.
I used regular household brand name cleaners like everybody else. But I noticed about 2 years ago that every single time that I was using an all-purpose spray cleaner and cleaning something, every single time I started to get a tightness in my chest, and I started to kind of have a hard time breathing. Every
Yeah.
time. It didn't used to be that way, right? I'm dang near 50, and I've used these cleaners all my life. But I noticed in the last 2 years, using any type of all-purpose cleaner, when I go spray, I would immediately begin to tighten up and have a hard time breathing. We don't truly understand the long-term effects on our bodies. One of the big things that people suffer with is autoimmune disorders, right? Autoimmune disorders like MS, lupus, all these other things. And what people don't realize is that a common trigger for an autoimmune response is the toxins in our body. They will trigger those autoimmune responses because your body recognizes it as an invader, right? And so it actually will throw our immune system out of whack and trigger us to have an autoimmune response. So there's so much to what these toxins do for us. We're not just talking about the hazards of like our kids or our pets getting into them and drinking them, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about the long-term exposure to these chemicals that are reasonably safe, right? But they're creating all these health issues in us. They're throwing off our hormones. And
Oh, yeah. You're exactly right. And the thing about them, too, is that what I like about, whenever you go to a doctor or someone you say about, well, I'd like to lose weight, the doctor's going to start, or the person you go see is going to start talking about what you need to eat and stop eating. So therefore, if you're experiencing physical ailments in your house, I'm not talking about going outside and catching the flu or anything like that. I'm talking about dizziness or headaches or rashes or irritability. That's a big one. Whew,
Yeah.
And, if you start eliminating known sources of these particular physical ailments, at least you can check it off that, okay, I'm not doing that, not doing that, not. It eliminates the process so you can really narrow down and find out what's going on with your health, because your health is something that you got 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can't give, well, you may give someone a headache, but you can't give your headache to someone else, and get rid of it. But my point being, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you're concerned about your health, you've got to realize that if you're having chemicals in your house, you're stacking the deck against you.
Right.
You really, truly are, because what affected me, like the chlorine in the water that I had to drink, what affected me, maybe not affected others, but it affected me. I mean, I didn't care if it didn't make anybody else sick. What I cared about, it made me sick to my stomach. You get down on all fours and everything's coming out. That's not a comfortable feeling.
No, it's not.
And you're not feeling good either, And that's
No.
when I shut off the H2O and turned on the espresso lane there of the Budweiser and the other drinks that we had there, because
And long-term exposure builds up in your body. Right? So you had acute illness from it where you were on your hands and knees, but so many people are actually getting sick from it, but not knowing they're getting sick from it because it's not an acute. illness, right? It's a chronic long-term buildup in our systems. You know,
Yeah.
we're finding these toxic chemicals in breast milk of mothers, right? Well, that how did it get there? It's not acute. It's built up in our systems, and we don't even understand completely the havoc that it's wreaking on our bodies.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, and here's another thing too. This is very dangerous. I could see some guys doing this, maybe some ladies, but it's more of a guy thing. You know, if you're going to be cleaning something, you don't have enough of this one cleaner. Okay, well, that's another cleaner. I'll just pick this up, pour it in there, and mix it. There's been people die
Yep.
from the toxic fumes of mixing cleaners.
Yeah.
And you think, well, cleaner's cleaner, right? Not really. You know, if it's all natural, you're good to go. But when it's two different, when you start mixing chemicals, and they react, and they're going to react because they're not going to bond together.
Right.
Their molecular makeup is totally different, and when they react, they're going to fume and let off some steam. Maybe steam you may not see, but it's going to release some fumes. And I forget who the guy was. He was working at a store, and he mixed the chemicals for some reason, and they found him on the floor. He dead.
Yeah, that was in 2019, actually.
Really?
It was at a restaurant, and he's working. He put a couple cleaners in a bucket, was mopping the floor with it, and bam! The fumes from it created a deadly gas, and he died. And,
couldn't get out the door.
Yeah, and so these are the same chemicals that we have in our homes underneath our kitchen sink, and you'll find. I mean. If we accidentally mix them, if our children accidentally mix them, I mean, it can be that fast.
Yeah. And Jeremy, some of these little, it's always great to have these little handy, these little disposable wipes you rip out of the thing and wipe up something and all that. I didn't realize, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but I did not realize that some of those things actually contain a registered pesticide.
Yes, I was actually going to bring that up today. Yeah, a lot of our hand soaps, a lot of our cleaners, they have pesticides in them. Think about this. What was Agent Orange?
Oh, yeah, Agent Orange. I tell you right now, that was a combination of about 55 different chemicals. And what the government did there, they just labeled them all Agent Orange, but they put together different combinations of chemicals, 55 different trials to my knowledge. You can look it up and research it. But the idea was, okay, in certain areas, this particular chemical combination will work better on this vegetation. And this will work better here, and this didn't work at all, so we're going to throw that away and start a new one. But my point being, Agent Orange was a defoliant. It was so powerful, if they sprayed it one day, you could walk down a trail the next day, not even 12 hours later, and you would see birds with their feet on their backs with their feet up in the air and not a feather missing.
Yeah.
Dead as a doornail.
Yeah. Yet we use similar chemicals in our products today.
Yeah. It's just shocking how many chemicals that we use and expose to, and they camouflage a lot of this stuff to make it appealing by giving it you see people smelling their laundry. I've never really smelt my laundry. Have you?
Yeah.
I really don't. I take it out of the dryer and fold it up or whatever. I guess some people might smell their shorts or something, but I've never had a desire to do that, or my T-shirts.
Think about your fabric softener, right?
Yeah.
Your liquid fabric softener that everybody uses, right? Did you know that there's warnings with that it actually causes your clothing to be more flammable? And that a lot of infant clothing, has like a flame retardant type stuff in it, and they recommend that you don't use it on that side because it'll ruin the flame retardants of the clothing for toddlers and infants. So we just are not aware. We that's the thing. I think that's why it's so great that we do shows like this, because we can help people to become aware. right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's you know, whether they choose to do anything with that knowledge is on them.
Yeah.
But we have a mission, we have a, I think, obligation with this knowledge to
Hmm.
make people aware of what they're doing, because we've just been miseducated, or it's been hidden from us.
Hmm.
And you know, one of the things that I shared with some people today was that, you know, formaldehyde is for dead people, right?
Oh, yeah.
Formaldehyde is for
Yeah.
dead people. I was
Yeah.
just yesterday looking at the ingredients of a brand name hand soap, right? And I went to go research the ingredients, and you know, they got long names like sodium lauryl sulfate, and you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
the methylchlorosil phthalate nandrolone. Well,
Yeah.
when you actually look at that, that's formaldehyde. It's a tricky name for
Mm.
formaldehyde. You'll find a lot of products that have chlorine in them, but they don't use the name chlorine. They use something else that means the same thing as chlorine, right?
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
we just don't know. Now, if
Yeah.
we looked at this and we said, it said formaldehyde, do you think that people might be, well, wait a second, isn't that what
Yeah.
we kept our lab animals that we had to dissect in biology class in?
Yeah.
Isn't
When
that what
they,
we put in dead people to embalm them?
oh,
No,
yeah.
I'm not going
Yeah.
to put that in my mouth or on my hand.
Yeah.
But no, we camouflage it.
Yeah. I mean, who would want to use that stuff? I mean, that would be, and see, they know that.
Hmm.
They know that. That's why they might label it under a different name or give
Yeah.
it a because you know sometimes you can use a chemical scientific name
Hmm.
that's a derivative of that. I mean, they sugarcoat this stuff. They really do, and it really irks me because I did not get interested in that until I had got the information out that the different cardiologists send, and this one cardiologist and another one sent it out too about the dangers of household chemicals, the effects it has on you, your heart, your health, your family, da 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 da. And I'm going like, household chemicals? We don't use house. You don't know. You don't normally think you're using household chemicals.
Yeah.
You really
Yeah.
don't.
As damaging to your lungs as smoking a pack of cigarettes every day for 20 years. You
Yeah,
know,
there was a study done on that, wasn't there?
yeah, there was. And so people don't even realize that. But, you know, you look at like FD&C Blue Number One. That's an
Yeah.
ingredient, right? It's also in food a lot of times. But what is that color made out of? It's made out of excess petroleum products, right? So you know, but you'll find it in food products. But that was one of the ingredients on this soap. You know, FD&C Blue Number One, FD&C Red Number 40, right? They're made out of petroleum. What's petroleum? Oil, right?
Yeah.
So we're wait a second. Like Exxon Valdez oil spill, didn't we work hard to wash all that oil off of all those animals?
Yeah.
Right? But instead, we're using it to clean ourselves. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And
crazy.
I like that time that you pointed out that this, they show the little ducks and stuff getting washed off from that oil spill, and they're using a particular name brand soap that you wash your dishes with, yada da da da. But on the back of it, it says this can be harmful to to marine life, and
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
you know,
that's hypocritical, folks. I don't care what you say. That's hypocritical. I mean, you are using soap, pretending this is the greatest thing since Swiss cheese, but yet the residue, when you wash the rest of it away and what's left over, is harmful to marine life.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, one of the main ingredients of dish soap, and especially it's even more concentrated in automatic dishwasher dish soap, is phosphates, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Phosphates are terrible for the environment. I mean, we've been talking about what these toxins do for our bodies and our health, but we haven't
Yeah.
even touched on what they do for the environment, right? And how they harm the environment either. But that's the main ingredient, phosphate. So every time
Yeah.
you're running your dishwasher and you're putting that down into the water system, you're affecting the environment, right?
Yeah, because it
But-
goes right back into the water tables. Yeah, it sure does.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, and not only that, but think about this. Now, I want you to follow me here, Jim.
Okay.
So, if you're a meat eater, okay, you eat a cow. What does the cow eat?
Grass,
Grass. Your grass grows in the
dirt,
dirt. Your household waste goes into,
The earth, the dirt.
The dirt, which
Yeah.
then gets absorbed into the grass,
Mm-hmm.
which then gets absorbed into the cow, which then you eat, which then it's a cycle, right?
Yeah.
So we dump these pollutants into
Yeah.
our dishwashers or whatnot. You know,
Yeah.
if you're a vegetarian, you're getting it even sooner than the cow, right? So,
Oh yeah, you're eliminating the cow there.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
eliminating the middleman in your
And-
toxic waste, right?
And you know, Jeremy, one of the things I like too is the fact that, you know, I hear people talk about, well, we only eat organic food. And I remember one time, this is several years ago, I think I had the person, he's on a radio show or TV show, one of the two. I said, let me ask you a question. I says, how do you handle the acid rain from the sky that gets rained back from all the pollutants that we release in the air? How do you handle the acid rain when it falls on your soil, on your farm? It gets absorbed into the roots, into the plants and all that. And he didn't even want to talk about that. I thought that was a valid question. But here again, it just gets returned. It's a cycle.
Yep,
It really is.
absolutely. And that's the thing, you know, here's what we know. We talked about this at the beginning, the mindset, the importance of the mindset, right?
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
and that's the thing that people, when you begin to challenge their long held beliefs,
Mhm.
they
The myths.
will do they'll do one of three things. One, they will listen to that information and they'll say, oh yeah, and they analyze it and they'll make a decision, right? To either make a
Yeah.
positive change. They will make a decision to keep doing what they're doing.
Mhm.
Or on top of that, they'll make a decision to keep doing what they're doing and totally reject the person that tries to share with them.
Yeah, yeah. That's just like we covered very first thing in the show was the myth. The reason why kids can't go out and do something because they don't have any money. Well, how do they explain the rags to riches program? See, we got to
Right.
address the myths in our mind
Yeah,
because we're justifying stories that we believe to be true. But when you look at the evidence, are these chemicals harmful to your health? Yes or no? And if you're locked in on the myths in your mind, who are you kidding?
absolutely.
Who's paying the price?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I mean, how can you deny that? You talked about those household wipes that are in the cylindrical containers, right? That we all know the different brand names,
Yeah.
but right on the back of them they have their own toxic warning, and they say not suitable for food surfaces. Why is it not
Yeah.
suitable for food surfaces?
Well,
It's
they
not
think they're
suitable
gonna-
for food surfaces because it's poison, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all you have to do is use a common sense. Read it. It's right there on it. Do not
Yeah.
use on food contact surfaces. Well,
Yeah.
what is the only reason that they can have for telling you not to use it on food contact surfaces? Because it's poison.
Yeah, and I mean, where does they think people are going to grab a handy wipe for? I mean, a disposable wipe
Yeah.
for? They're not, Bubba's not going to wipe his carcass or shine his shoes with it.
Exactly. But every time you see people using them to wipe it down, because this is how I'm going to kill the germs on my countertop, right? Well, why do you want to kill the germs on your countertop? Because you're preparing food on there, right?
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
so that's why you don't want there to be no germs. So you don't want to get sick from that. Well, you might kill the germs, but you're going to put the poison, the toxin, right? So again, we're exchanging the microbe or infection for the toxic infection.
Yeah,
But there's a better way.
yeah. There really is. There really, truly is. And imagine you can be able to clean up your home, your laundry, and you can at least know that that your household does not have any chemicals in it that need a warning label. How about that?
Yeah.
And you can get in touch with Jeremy there. That's my email address here at the station. If you'd like to know more about it, just email us at Inspiration E360 TV Live. And Jeremy, we got about a minute and a half left. That's your email there, Jeremy at yourbizprofitscoach.com. Share with the folks a little bit what your Biz Profit Coach business is. You're a professional business coach. I realize that. Share a little bit with them.
Oh yeah, well thanks, Jim. Fantastic. Yes, I'm a leadership development expert, speaker, international speaker. I work with large companies to help them to build culture in their organization, to develop their CEOs. I do executive coaching for C-suite personnel and leaders in organizations, and then I help individuals who have a dream of being entrepreneurs to help them to get the freedom of their time and with their family and everything by helping them to build successful home-based businesses.
That's it in a nutshell. And be sure, ladies and gentlemen, to share this with young people there. You see it on the screen there, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And if you live in a country where you cannot, or YouTube is not available to you, you can go online and research it. It's downloadable in a PDF form, word by word, because I've got both of them. I've got the video and I've also got the PDF form. On behalf of Jeremy and myself, we want to thank you for tuning in. We're going to be back next week, same time, same place, same station. And we're going to be talking some more about health things. And we're going to be able to share more information about what's important to you, and that's your health.
Yeah.
Because if you got your health, you got everything. And we want you to enjoy, you and your loved ones, to enjoy the best health that you possibly can. And we know some things, we got some information coming, I should say, pardon me for putting it like that. We got some information coming that's going to be a blessing to you and others. So be sure and share this show with others. Tune in with us next week, same time, same place. Jeremy may be over here and I may be over there, or I might be over here, he might be over there. But anyway, we're interchangeable like that. But anyway, we're going to have some fun. We're also going to, time to time, bring some guests on who are subject matter experts. And if there's anything you'd like to see us cover, please get in touch with us here at the station. We'd be glad to do that. And thank you again, Jeremy. Thank you. It's always a pleasure being here with you. And
Thanks, Jim.
we hope you folks out there in TV land have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.